Hi, I hope you're well. I wonder, how would you describe yourself at the moment in 3 words? Yeah, maybe try something a little bit more original than stuck at home. Here's a trio you could try: joyful, patient, faithful. Does that sound like you? I must admit, joy is not the most obvious response each morning when I get up out of bed and anticipate another day, very much like yesterday. Joy. And patience doesn't exactly come naturally, wanting to know how things are going to turn out, longing to meet up again with family, wanting to do normal church, wishing I could eat out for my birthday. Like many, I just want the current situation to be over. Are you faithful? Or does that sound a bit more like your dog? Recently in my prayer time, I read a verse containing a description of what we should be in 3 words: joyful, patient, faithful. Here's the verse in Romans 12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Joyful, patient, faithful. This little talk is not for people who have got everything together and comes from someone who will happily acknowledge that he hasn't either. The current situation is probably revealing a lot about each of us and what matters to us. Am I joyful? Well, it's not the first word that springs to mind, but joy should be one of the marks of a Christian. Is it right to be joyful when there is so much suffering in the world at the moment, so much personal hurt? Almost certainly not if you think of joy as some kind of fluffy, wishful thinking. There are 3 words here to describe what we should be, 3 short phrases and 3 other words to give us some context. Firstly, we can be joyful in hope. We're rightly concerned about things, and much of the time our thoughts will be exercised and energies expended in working out how we can get through this to the other side. But what is hope? One of our family's favourite Christmas films is The Preacher's Wife, starring Whitney Houston. It's a sentimental piece, and the family and the in-laws will happily watch it any time from October half-term onwards and quote much of it. Considering the story is based in a Baptist church in the US with a killer gospel choir, the church is very thin on Christian teaching. The preacher, for example, never preaches for longer than 3 minutes and never mentions Jesus. On one occasion, as he tries to help Billy from the church youth who has found himself in trouble, he gives a lesson to him on hope. Hope apparently is like when Billy used to play basketball. When he threw the ball at the basket, that was hope. Well, that's a terrible definition of Christian hope. If I was stood in the front of that basket, you would have more chance of defining the word hopeless or no chance. When Christians talk about hope, they're talking about something certain, that Jesus has gone away to prepare a place for us. He's given us a new life which starts now and will continue beyond this life. Because of Jesus' death and resurrection, even death will not be the end for us who trust him, any more than COVID-19 will spell the end of the world. So be joyful in hope, feet firmly planted on the ground, caring for those around us, especially for those acutely touched by the tragedy of the current situation. That joy is not frivolous but can be real because of the bigger picture we can have as Christians. In another one of his letters, the Apostle Paul talks about how we can persevere because of the hope that we have. Speaking of which, the second part of our verse is about patience. We can be patient in affliction. I guess for all of us at the moment, we are afflicted, suffering. For too many, lives have been lost, livelihoods have come crashing down, and quite apart from the frustrations of being kept in, probably all of us have seen exciting plans coming to nothing. And just not knowing, when will this end? When will life be normal again? I'd love to be patient, but can we just get on with it? Patience doesn't come naturally to us. but it is a characteristic that God the Holy Spirit will produce in us if we allow him to. And what about faithful? Faithful in what? Well, again, the verse is specific. We need to be faithful in prayer, devoted to prayer. If I'm not joyful, not patient, well, I'm afraid I have to admit that my devotion to prayer is not too obvious either. Some days I've got to the end and been challenged as to how little I have prayed. For many of us, we're having to work hard, quite rightly, to navigate our way through difficult times. But why is it so easy for us to neglect prayer? In all the challenges of life, why would we not seek God's help? Bring our world to him, our country, our churches, our businesses, our families, our friends. So much need, and we believe there is a God who loves us, a God who hears prayer, and a God who answers prayer. So let's face this challenge. Let's be joyful in hope, be patient in affliction, and be faithful in prayer.